a charge Jimmer Teshiv and Falch Arash, welcome back. So, next question that we tend to get asked in the orals then is about your family. So we've talked about a whole load of stuff from ages and numbers and where they are in the family. Now we want to talk about, do you get on well with them, which is a question I love to ask, and I'm going to show you something really, really important. And it's a complete conversation killer if you don't follow this right. But see this question, on reaching to Gamal Lesh Na, do you get on well with the? So, Diniela, other people. So we're talking about the people in your family, right? So on reaching to Gamal Lesh Na Diniela, do you get on well with the other people in your family? It's a question I love to ask. I hate when students go, yeah, like we all get on great, because the conversation can't go anywhere, can it? So here's my top piece of advice, and it doesn't have to be true. Remember, we want marks. We're playing a game here, so it's not necessarily true. Here's one thing I'm going to get you all to do. Pick a person in the family that you get on well with, and pick a person in the family you don't get on well with, because it adds to the conversation. And I'm going to show you why this is important. I get on well with Niamh because we play the same sports. Now I'm going to ask you about sports, and you're like, thanks for asking me about sports. My favourite sports are, and you talk about sports. I don't get on well with Mark because we've different tastes in music. And I'm like, what type of music do you like? And you're like, funny you should ask me, Hall, I like. So you're going to steer the conversation. So if you're looking at getting a H1, let's start being clever. So when I ask you about, do you get on well with people in your family, have a person you are ready to say, yeah, get on well with this person, and I don't get on well with that person, and I'll show you in the next video, right? But let's talk a couple of things about how to describe the people with nice key vocab that's not boring, mundane, and that I keep getting from students over and over again. The first word is postul, childish. Don't get on well with Mark. It's in a postul, tasha postul. He's childish. Cantalach is the word for cranky or narky. Glick is the word for kind of devious, sly, sneaky. So if you want to create a little bit of tension between maybe yourself and your imaginary siblings, you can say, yeah, tasha glick. Takul is the word for supportive. I'll show you how to use that when talking about parents. Dad's supportive, but mom's not. And we can talk about, oh, dad's supportive with my studies, and then we can talk about your studies. So this is a really important question because it springboards where the conversation is going to go. Tishkanach, nice word. Tishkanach is the word for understanding. Stuama, right? Stuama, level-headed, sensible. Stuama. Now there's a TH in the next word, isn't it? So we're not going to pronounce the T. We're going to go straight for the H. Kuhal. Kuhal. Kuhal is the word for shy, timid, meek. Sportul. Tell you what, do me a favour. Let's not use sportul because everybody's going to use sportul, aren't they? So what we're going to go for is ackley. Fit, athletic. Ackley. And it's actually easier to spell than sportul. The next one, socialta, sociable. Socialta, sociable. Now, let's look at the next word here. See your GHs. When your GH is in the middle of a word, 99.99999% of the time, you are not going to pronounce it. So I'm going to give you an example of English, right? And it's the example that I use for everybody. Do you see this surname that we have in Ireland? What word do we not? What sound, what letters do we not pronounce? We would never say Gallagher, Gallagher. We would say Gallagher, Gallagher, wouldn't we? So in Ireland, we don't pronounce that. And it comes from your native language. So we're not going to pronounce the GH, and it's going to be Fai Nyach. Fai Nyach. Fai Nyach is patient. Fai Nyach. Now, the next word you have is leshkul. Leshkul, lazy. Leshkul. And there's a bit of a fine line between this word as well. Re chushach. Re chushach is the word for laid back, chilled, relaxed. I'm definitely not re chushach, by the way, folks. So leshkul, lazy, and re chushach is the word for laid back. Kinalta. Kinalta. Kind, nice, kinalta. Kind of means sound as well, can mean friendly. It's a nice quality. Granver. Funny. Humorous. Granver. Njav splach. Njav splach. Njav splach is independent. Independent. Neamh splach. Now, if you use the word splach on its own, dependent. Tá mé splach mam. I'm dependent on mam. Tá mé splach yad. I'm dependent on dad. Now, the next one after this, right? So, sorry, neamh splach is independent. Now, look at the next word. We have a GH in the middle, don't we? So we know not to pronounce the GH. We also have an FH, which you never pronounce. And I mean ever. So what we're left is mi, I, nyach. Mi, I, nyach. Don't pronounce the FH. Don't pronounce the GH. Mi, I, nyach. Impatient. So mi, I, nyach. Mi, I, nyach. Impatient. Cowrock. Helpful. And feel flahul. Now, feel means generous. Flahul means generous. I stole actually an awful lot of this from Oisín Déanann and your poems and stories. But feel means generous and flahul means generous. And we use this together in Irish. We say feel flahul, which means he's very generous. Now, to us in Irish, that makes perfect sense. So when you have a word that means the same thing, and both of them start with the same letters, you can use them together. Feel flahul. It means very generous or generous. So feel, generous, flahul, generous, or push the two of them together. Now, chassis, right? Chassis comes from the word chas, and chas means heat. So if you are chassis, you're quite heated. You are prone, you love a good argument. You're quite fiery. Chassis, quite hot-headed, quite quick-tempered. And the same as tintry is quite the same as well. And where this comes from in Irish is, do you know if there's a storm, you would say tintrach agus tornach for lightning and thunder. So tintrach is the word for lightning. So if you're quite prone to changing your mood very quick, let's say freaking out if somebody gets a tishel ginnerock wrong in your class or something like that, you'd be quite tintry. You can quite kind of quick to flare up. So chassis and tintry are two nice words for hot-headed. Now, if you want to use any of these, you can say tá sé stúma, tá sé sportúil, tá sé sosialte, tá sé feel flahul. You can use that way. If you're going for your top marks, I would recommend using this construct here. Is dinne something a Sean? Sean is a cowrock. He's a helpful person. Is dinne cowrock a Sean? Or maybe if you're talking about your father, you would just say is dinne cowrock a, and you would go straight in for maher. Is dinne cowrock a maher? My dad's a helpful person. Let's say for generous, right? You want to say Saoirse, your sister's quite generous. You would say is dinne feel flahul I Saoirse. Is dinne feel flahul I Saoirse. Perfect. If you want to say that your mom is quite generous, well then just drop Saoirse and pop in the word movaher. Is dinne feel flahul I movaher. Is dinne feel flahul I movaher. My mom is very generous. So that's kind of a more of a H1-ish, H2 phrase, and rather than saying tá, she, tá, she. Let's have a look at some key vocab now to talk about your brothers and your sisters in your house. Some nice pieces that I have for you here, right? This one here, ag trup trapáil, is stomping. Now, ag trup means stomping. Ag trapáil means stomping, but because both of them mean the same thing and they both begin with the letter T, we can use them together. Ag trup trapáil. So it's kind of like feel flahu. So ag trup trapáil, stomping, sacha, in the house. Argonti is the word for arguments. Perfect. But you see this word here, togan she. I love this. Togan she means she raises arguments, where most students would be more telling me tusnín she for she starts. Tusín she, tusnín she, argonti, she starts arguments. That's fine, that's great. But togan means she raises arguments. It's nice. And again, our Irish doesn't have to be really complicated, but it just has to have really native-like kind of approach to the Irish. That's it. Raic is the word for a racket, commotion. So Déanann sé, he makes a racket, and then timpeall around the house. Chuireann sí isteach orm, nice phrase. Chuireann sí She irritates me. Cardan she is sta ardum. So the ardum is the me part. She irritates me. Cardan she sta ardum. Now, you can hate your friends of your brother and hate your brothers and sisters' friends. That's perfect, but we want to do it grammatically correct in Irish, don't we? So we're going to start off with a little bit of an isfua. Do not pronounce the T. Fua. So isfua liom, I hate. A chij with the H, right? Now, I know it's not the nicest sound to make, is it, in Irish? But the more you pronounce that a chij, the more I'm going to understand your Irish and the clearer your Irish is going to be. So I know when I hear the word achij, ardigid, or charja, I know it's his friends. Because when you drop the H and you say achij, carja, I hear her friends. So it's fulam achij, it's not really the nicest sound, but the more effort you put into it, the more of an effort you make with that sound, the more clearer your Irish is actually going to be. It's your choice. Reinum, I share. Reinum, shomer, a room, and then lesh with him, or lehi with her. I know you know the word pleiciacht, right? And see the DH again in the middle of the word. We're not going to pronounce that DH at all. Pleiciacht, pleiciacht. So there's no DH sound there for us at all. Now, ag pleiciacht means messing, acting the eejit. So ag pleiciacht, and that's something that I think everybody kind of uses and everybody knows. And if you have ag pleiciacht, that's really, really good, fantastic. I would suggest this one here, ag amaidí, ag amaidí, ag amaidí, whichever way you want to pronounce it, you can. So let's go for ag amaidí, and that means again acting the eejit, messing around, and it comes from what word? Amadon does, perfect. So ag amaidí is acting the eejit. Expocca. Now, expocca means slagging. Expocca, awesome, slagging me. And again, a very common one would be egmogafuum, slagging me, mocking me. Any of those are fine. Expocca, awesome, and egmogafuum. So don't mix up. The awesome has to go with this one, and the fuum has to stay with that one, so don't mix up the endings of those. But both of those mean kind of slagging me, jeering me, mocking me. Now the last two that we have here then is ní higgin siad on maid brew. Let's go for this one. On maid brew. The amount of pressure on maid brew. Same structure as English. So let's go get the starting part of your sentence now, right? Ní higgin siad. They don't understand. They don't understand. Ní higgin siad on maid brew, the amount of pressure. And this, atá, one of my favourite words in Irish. Atá means which is or which are. Because in English you have to decide singulars and plurals, and in Irish we're like, it's all the same. So let's go for which is. The amount of pressure which is, and means on me. Now that's in relation to your parents. They don't understand the pressure I'm under. And then I'd be like, oh, what pressure are you under? And you're like, Micheál, do you know what? I'm under lots of pressure in school. And I'd be like, tell me about school. And you're like, well, I'm doing 7 subjects, all higher level. English is my favourite. Chemistry is my least. And then we start talking about your school. So we're kind of manipulating the conversation as much as possible, which I'm going to show you in a second. So this is why we're trying to use these. Níl ceadagum. Now, níl ceadagum, I don't have permission. Cead. Dul is my infinitive verb, and dul means to go. To go. Dul. Amach, out. Le, with. Mo, my. Carja, friends. Same structure as English. Irish is so hard. Irish is so difficult. Irish doesn't make sense. And there it is, following the exact same structure as English. So dul, to go. Amach, out. Le, with. Mo, my. Carja, friends. Nice and simple. Now, tashid ródhian. Let's go for the pronunciation on this. The DH here, right? Now I'll explain these in the videos for you, but Irish pronunciation is actually very, very, very structured and very logical, and lots of rules. You can actually look at the actual material itself in the booklet, right? But will you do me a favour, and will you pop the letter Y underneath that for me there? Ródhian, ródhian. So tashid, they are. Ródhian, too tough, too strict. And then the on me. Tá siad ródhian or they're too tough, they're too strict on me. And finally, last one we have used a couple of times in Irish. Cothram na féine means fair play, equal treatment. Cothram na féine. Ní hugan siad, they don't give. Ní hugan siad, they do not give. Cothram na féine, fair play, equal treatment. And dom means to me. Dom meaning to me. So that brings us to the end of our material. So what we have are lovely adjectives to describe do you get on well with people. Now, bear in mind, yes, get a family member that you do, and it doesn't have to be true. You can say, yes, I get on well with dad, and I don't get on well with mom. Yes, I get on with Saoirse, but I don't get on with Fiacre. Or yes, I get on well with Padraig, but I don't get on well with Niamh. But pick somebody that you do and you don't, because it'll make the conversation an awful lot easier, and we can use this now to start directing the conversation to where we want it to go, and I'll show you how to do that in the videos. But other than that, folks, you did a deadly job as always. Remember, any questions, fill out the questionnaire form, because I'll get it straight away on the Grinds 360 platform, so you can type in any grammar like, Michal, why is there H here, why is there a fada here, how do I pronounce this? Any question that you ever wanted to know about Irish, any question that you've ever wanted to know, will you email me, please? So use the questionnaire, and remember, Grinds, we're online as well, live on Wednesdays as well, if you want to ask any questions there. But other than that, folks, you did amazing. Good to meet you, Slán.